There is a book in the Bible that does not promise you miracles, visions, or supernatural encounters. Instead, it teaches you how to survive reality. It teaches you how to speak without destroying yourself, how to work without becoming a slave, how to lead without becoming corrupt, and how to live without losing your soul. That book is Proverbs. Proverbs is not inspirational, it is instructional. It was written for people who want to live wisely before things fall apart, not after. To understand the Book of Proverbs, we have to perform a sort of theological surgery on our modern vocabulary. We have to cut away our Western definitions of wisdom. In our world, wisdom is often confused with intelligence, the ability to process data, or it's confused with education, the acquisition of information. Sometimes we even mistake it for a spiritual feeling. But in the biblical mind, wisdom is none of those things. The Hebrew word used throughout these texts is letter 1e25 and letter 1e25 does not mean smart. It means skill. Specifically, it refers to craftsmanship. We see this definition clearly in Exodus 31:3, where God says of the artisan Bezalel, "I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom," letter 1e25 in understanding and in knowledge to design artistic works, to work in gold, silver, and bronze. These weren't philosophers. They were men who knew how to join metal and carve wood. They understood the nature of their materials. They knew how to work with reality to build something that lasted. When Proverbs speaks of wisdom, it is calling you to be a craftsman of character. It is asserting that the universe has a moral grain, just as real as the grain in a piece of cedar. There is a structural integrity to the world that God built. Proverbs 3:19 tells us exactly how deep this goes. The Lord by wisdom, letter 1e25 founded the earth. By understanding, he established the heavens. This changes everything. It means the lessons in Proverbs are not religious advice or good suggestions. They are observations of spiritual physics. They are cause and effect laws. Proverbs 8:30 gives us the personification of this wisdom, standing beside God at the dawn of time. Then I was beside him as a master craftsman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Wisdom was the architect's tool for creation. If you work against the grain of a board, you get splinters. If you work against the moral grain of the universe, through pride or dishonesty, your life will eventually splinter. Not because God is out to get you, but because you are violating the structural laws of existence. As Proverbs 4:7 commands us, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding. A wise person, then, is simply someone who has developed the skill of living in alignment with the way life actually works. They aren't just good people, they are competent souls. We aren't here to be inspired, we are here to learn the trade. If wisdom is a craft, then domain 1 is the foundation. And in the world of Proverbs, you cannot build a skyscraper on a swamp. You must have a reference point that does not move. We often hear the phrase, the fear of the Lord, and we think of cowering in the dark. But theologically, this isn't about terror, it's about alignment. It is the realization that you are not the center of the universe, and you did not write the laws of reality. Proverbs 1:7 lays the cornerstone. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. When the text says it is the beginning, it doesn't mean fear comes first chronologically, like a phase you grow out of. It means nothing else works without it. If God is not your reference point, your wisdom collapses into self-interest. And self-interest is a flawed compass. It will always tell you that north is whichever way you want to go right now. This leads us to the core conflict of the human heart, trust versus self-reliance. Proverbs 3:5-6 is perhaps the most famous articulation of this law. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Notice the craftsmanship here. To lean on your own understanding is to put your entire weight on a pillar that was never designed to hold it. Your understanding is limited by your ego, your trauma, and your blind spots. To acknowledge him is to check your blueprints against the architect's original design before you lay the next brick. This is the move from control to submission. In our culture, we treat God like a consultant, someone we call when the project is failing to get a second opinion. But Proverbs 9:10 reminds us, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." A consultant gives advice, an authority gives specifications. You don't negotiate with the laws of gravity, and you don't negotiate with the moral order of the Creator. You submit to it, or you break yourself against it. In these first weeks, we aren't learning new tips for a better life. We are recalibrating our instruments. We are admitting that if the foundation is off by even a fraction of a degree, the entire building will eventually lean, crack, and fall. Alignment is not a restriction. It is the only thing that makes the structure stable. Once the foundation is set, we have to look at the engine. In Domain 2, we move from the external alignment of our lives to the internal command center. Because in the physics of the soul, what controls you determines where you end up. In our modern world, we've sentimentalized the heart. We think it's the seat of romance or fleeting emotions. But in the theology of Proverbs, the heart is the decision center. It is the wellspring, the pressurized source from which every action, every word, and every habit flows. Proverbs 4:23 gives us the most critical maintenance order in the entire book. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. Notice the language, keep it with all diligence. In the Hebrew, this is the language of a sentry guarding a fortress. You aren't just watching what you think. You are monitoring the gate of your decision center. Why? Because what you allow into your heart eventually becomes behavior. Behavior repeated becomes habit. Habit solidified becomes destiny. If your heart is captured by pride, the rest of the structure is doomed. Pride, in Proverbs, is a form of internal misalignment. It is the engine overheating because it thinks it doesn't need oil. Proverbs 16:18 warns us of the mechanical failure that follows. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. This isn't just a moral platitude, it is a structural reality. Pride makes you unteachable, and the moment you become unteachable, you stop being a craftsman and start being a fool. Humility, conversely, is the integrity of the soul. It is the inner alignment that allows you to see the world as it actually is, not as your ego wants it to be. This leads directly to emotional regulation. A craftsman who cannot control his tools will ruin the wood. A person who cannot control their spirit is equally dangerous. Proverbs 25:28 describes the man without self-control as a city broken down without walls. Without internal regulation, you have no defense. You are at the mercy of every insult, every temptation, and every passing whim. You aren't a craftsman. You are a victim of your own impulses. Integrity, then, is the inner seal. It is when the hidden gears of your heart match the visible hands of the clock. Proverbs 11:3 tells us, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them." In these weeks, we aren't just thinking positive thoughts. We are auditing the command center. We are recognizing that if you lose the heart, you lose the life. The craft is won or lost in the quiet, hidden places of the soul. If the heart is the decision center, then the tongue is the primary instrument of construction or demolition. In Domain 3, we confront the reality that words are not just words. They are the primary way we build our world. Proverbs treats speech with the same respect a soldier gives to a loaded weapon. It understands that you are never just talking. Every time you open your mouth, you are either planting a seed or pouring out poison. There is no such thing as neutral speech. Proverbs 18:21 puts it with haunting clarity. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. You are constantly eating the fruit of what you have said. If you plant bitterness, you will eat a harvest of isolation. If you plant truth, you will eat a harvest of trust. In the theology of Proverbs, the tongue is a rudder, a small piece of the machine that dictates the entire trajectory of the ship. This is why the first skill of the wise is often the skill of silence. In a world that prizes volume, Proverbs prizes restraint. Proverbs 10:19 offers a stark diagnostic. In the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise. The more you talk, the more likely you are to create structural damage. A craftsman knows that not every thought needs to be voiced, just as not every board needs a nail. Silence is not weakness. It is the buffer that prevents a spark from becoming a forest fire. When we do speak, the wise craftsman understands that timing is more important than volume. We often try to win conflicts by being the loudest, but Proverbs teaches that effectiveness is found in the fit. Proverbs 25:11 describes it as a masterpiece of jewelry. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. The fit is everything. A word spoken at the wrong time, even if it is true, is a hammer used on a pane of glass. It destroys the very thing it was meant to fix. The skill of timing is what allows for true conflict navigation. Proverbs 15:1 gives us the ultimate blueprint for de-escalation. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Notice the physics of that verse. Anger is energy. A harsh word adds fuel to that energy, creating an explosion. A soft answer is a heat sink. It absorbs the energy and brings the temperature back to a level where the work can continue. In this video, we aren't just learning communication tips. We are learning to handle fire. We are recognizing that our words have the power to create a reality we either want to live in or one we will eventually want to escape. We are halfway through the blueprints, and by now, you're likely seeing the areas of your life where the structure is beginning to lean. This is the apprenticeship. If you're finding value in this architectural look at the soul, take a second to hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that there is still an audience that values depth over clicks, and it helps this instruction manual reach those who are currently watching their own lives splinter. And if you want to ensure you don't miss our future masterclasses on the harder parts of the Bible, make sure you're subscribed. Now, let's get back to the workshop. We've covered the heart and the tongue, but now we have to talk about the hands and the weight of the gold they carry. Once we master the tongue, we must master the hand. Domain 4 takes the skill of wisdom into the realm of wealth, work, and ambition. In the theology of Proverbs, your bank account and your calendar are not secular zones. They are the testing grounds for your soul. Proverbs offers a radical perspective on money. It does not condemn wealth, but it fiercely condemns worship of wealth. It views money as a tool for the master craftsman, never a master to be served. If money becomes your security, it has replaced God. And the problem with money as a god is that it is a fair-weather deity. It will abandon you when you need it most. Proverbs 23:4-5 warns us of the evaporative nature of wealth. Do not overwork to be rich. Because of your own understanding, cease. Will you set your eyes on that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away like an eagle toward heaven. Notice the command, cease. The wise man knows when to stop. If you wear yourself out to get rich, you are violating the law of stewardship. You are trading your life, which is eternal, for a currency that is designed to fly away. This is the difference between diligence and anxiety. Diligence is a steady, rhythmic output of work. Anxiety is the frantic, soul-crushing belief that your survival depends solely on your hustle. This is why Proverbs views laziness not as a personality trait, but as a moral failure. To be slothful is to be a broken part in a larger machine. Proverbs 6:6 gives us the biological blueprint for work. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which, having no captain, overseer, or ruler, provides her supplies in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. The ant is a master craftsman of time. She doesn't wait for a crisis to act. The sluggard is a fool because he ignores the seasons of reality. He thinks he can negotiate with the harvest. But the laws of cause and effect are cold. If you do not plant in the spring, you will not eat in the winter. It isn't a punishment, it's physics. However, the goal is not just success. It is success without corruption. A craftsman who uses inferior materials to save money is a fraud, and the building will eventually reveal his character. Proverbs 10:2 tells us, "Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivers from death." There is a poison in wealth that is gained through the exploitation of others or the cutting of moral corners. It might look like profit on a balance sheet, but in the structural reality of your life, it is a rot. Proverbs 11:1 reinforces this as a cosmic law. Dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. In these weeks, we are learning to be diligent but detached. We work with excellence because we represent the master architect, but we do not find our identity in our net worth. We recognize that wealth is a stewardship. It is raw material given to us to build something that outlasts us. True wealth is not having what you want. It is having the character that money cannot buy and that poverty cannot take away. We have discussed the heart, the tongue, and the hand, but no craftsman works in a vacuum. In Domain 5, we enter the most difficult environment of all, other people. In the Theology of Proverbs, relationships are not merely for comfort. They are the grindstones that sharpen our character. We often think of a good friend as someone who always agrees with us, but Proverbs views that kind of friendship as a structural hazard. Real relationships are not comfortable, they are corrective. If no one in your life is allowed to confront you, your wisdom will remain stagnant. Proverbs 27:17 gives us the industrial metaphor for growth. As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. Think about that process. Iron does not sharpen iron by gentle stroking. It happens through friction, heat, and the striking of one hard surface against another. If you avoid the sparks of honest feedback, you remain dull. A friend who truly loves you is willing to wound your ego to save your soul. As Proverbs 27:6 says, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful." This principle of corrective friction reaches its peak in the context of counsel. A wise craftsman never trusts his own eyes alone. He seeks the level and the square of other people's perspectives. Proverbs 15:22 warns us of the danger of the isolated mind. Without counsel, plans go awry, but in the multitude of counselors they are established. Isolation is the breeding ground for folly. When you stop listening to counsel, you are essentially saying that your understanding is superior to reality. This is why the wise person surrounds themselves with people who have the permission to tell them they are wrong. This same skill of alignment applies to the home, specifically to marriage. Proverbs treats the choice of a spouse not as a romantic whim, but as a foundational building decision. A destructive relationship is like rot in the very beams of your house. Proverbs 12:4 tells us, "An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones." Notice the anatomy. It's not a surface wound, it's the bones. The wrong relationship doesn't just hurt your feelings, it compromises your structural integrity. Conversely, a wise partnership is a force multiplier for wisdom. It is the ultimate stewardship of two people sharpening one another toward a shared vision. In these weeks, we are auditing our circles. We are asking, who am I allowing to sharpen me? And whom am I dulling by my refusal to listen? We are recognizing that we cannot become master craftsmen alone. We need the friction. We need the heat. We need the faithful wounds that only a true community can provide. Wisdom is a team sport. If you are the smartest person in your circle is too small. Wisdom is never a private possession. It is a public duty. In Domain 6, we move from the workshop to the city gates, the place where power is exercised and justice is decided. In the Theology of Proverbs, the mark of a master craftsman is not just how well he builds his own house, but how he stands for the integrity of the entire city. Proverbs is relentless in its defense of the vulnerable. It asserts that the moral grain of the universe is bent toward justice. Therefore, if you use your wisdom only to benefit yourself while ignoring the brokenness around you, you aren't wise, you're a predator. And Proverbs makes it clear, God is the ultimate moral judge of how we treat those who can do nothing for us. Proverbs 14:31 issues a direct warning to the powerful. He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who honors him has mercy on the needy. Notice the theological link. You cannot honor God while oppressing his image bearers. In the craftsmanship of life, every human being is a piece of divine material. To mistreat the poor is to insult the architect who drew the blueprints for their soul. This leads us to the heavy burden of advocacy. In Proverbs, silence in the face of injustice is not neutrality. It is participation. If you have the skill of speech and the skill of influence, and you do not use them to defend the weak, you are a craftsman who watches a building collapse and says nothing. Proverbs 31:8-9 commands us, "Open your mouth for the speechless in the cause of all who are appointed to die. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy." We often prefer truth only when it's convenient, but Proverbs demands truth over manipulation. Manipulation is the warped wood of social interaction. It looks straight on the surface, but it's designed to trip people up. Proverbs 21:3 tells us what God actually values. To do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. You can perform all the religious rituals you want, but if your scales are dishonest and your heart is indifferent to the poor, your craft is a hollow shell. God is not interested in your spiritual feeling if it doesn't manifest as social responsibility. In these weeks, we are learning that wisdom is a shield. We are auditing our influence. We are asking, who am I speaking for? And whose burden am I helping to carry? We are recognizing that a society that ignores the poor is a society that has violated its own structural integrity. It is a building with a rotting foundation, and it will eventually fall. A wise person does not just seek to live well. They seek to ensure that justice flows through the streets of their city. Because if the city fails, the craftsman fails with it. We have reached the final stage of the craft. Domain 7 is about the finish, the long-term structural integrity of a life lived well. This is the domain of destiny and legacy. In the Theology of Proverbs, wisdom is not a sprint. It is a long obedience in the same direction. In a world obsessed with overnight success and viral moments, Proverbs offers a different law, the law of compounding interest. The righteous path does not leap into the light in a single bound. It brightens gradually, choice by choice, brick by brick. Proverbs 4:18 gives us the ultimate vision of this trajectory. But the path of the just is like the shining sun that shines ever brighter under the perfect day. Notice the physics of the sunrise. It doesn't happen all at once. It is a persistent, disciplined climb. Wisdom compounds. Every time you choose silence over a biting word, every time you choose integrity over a quick profit, you are adding to the illumination of your future. But this requires discipline, the ability to choose what you want most over what you want now. But what happens when the build takes longer than expected? This is where many craftsmen abandon the project. This is the trial of hope deferred. Proverbs 13:12 captures this psychological reality with brutal honesty. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it is a tree of life. The wise person knows that heart sickness is part of the process. It is the season where the cement is drying and it looks like nothing is happening. But in the theology of Proverbs, the delay is not a denial. It is the seasoning of the soul. If you can endure the wait without abandoning the blueprints, the result is not just a win. It is a tree of life, something that provides shade and fruit for generations. This leads us to the final goal, legacy. A master craftsman does not just build for his own lifetime. He builds things that will be used by people he will never meet. Proverbs 13:22 tells us, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous." This inheritance isn't just gold. It is the skill of living passed down. It is a name that stands for something. It is a foundation so solid that the next generation can build even higher. We conclude where we began. Proverbs was never meant to be consumed quickly. It was meant to be lived slowly. If you walk these principles out week by week, choice by choice, you will not become perfect, but you will become stable. And in a collapsing world, stability is the rarest power on earth. You have the blueprints, you have the tools. Now it's time to build. We have traveled from the foundation of the fear of God, through the internal command center of the heart, into the marketplace of work, the friction of relationships, and the public square of justice. We have seen that wisdom is not a philosophy. It is the skill of navigating reality without breaking your soul. Proverbs was never meant to be a book you read. It was meant to be a world you inhabit. It was written for those who want to live wisely before things fall apart, not after. You now have the blueprints. You know that the universe has a moral grain, and you know that your choices are the tools that either build a sanctuary or a ruins. But remember, knowing the craft is not the same as doing the work. You can study the laws of physics all day, but if you don't align your building with the plumb line, the house will still lean. In a world that is increasingly unstable, your stability depends on your obedience to these ancient laws. If this deep dive has changed the way you look at your life, if you are ready to stop seeking inspiration and start seeking instruction, then do 3 things right now. Like this video to help us push this message of stability to a world in chaos. Comment below with the one domain that challenged you the most today. Was it the tongue, your work ethic, or the state of your heart? Let's start the sharpening process in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell. We are here to help you master the craft of living, one principle at a time. The master architect is watching the work. You have the tools, you have the blueprints. Now go out and build something that lasts.